yet another exciting edition of Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television. This edition of the program, Nigerian Alex makes Diamond League history. Coming in from the world of tennis, Diamond Djokovic is right into the quarterfinals. And in football, Nigeria Football Federation renews Pesero's contract. Details of this and many more will be yours when we return from the break. Welcome back. Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network, and I have with me Potempo.
It's a delightful morning. I'm so glad to be here, Mr. Sir. Good morning.
Let's get started, and of course, we'll start from the home front, where Sports Minister John Ewa Eno has urged the private sector to support the federal government's bid to revamp the sporting sector and turn it into a viable contributor to the nation's economy. Is this possible?
It's very possible. Every sports minister should look at the pillars or the agenda that forms the administration to which they are, helping. And I think that his main target will be to see how far he will partner with the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to help economic, empowerment, poverty alleviation, and job creation, as well as security. So I think that sports can be a vehicle towards achieving this feat, because look at the teeming population of Nigeria, the youths, are into more sports, and if you use sports as a vehicle, it can be that channel to which some of these things can be actualized. So, but for me, I think over time we've seen Nigeria sports partner or sports ministry partner with some private sectors. We need to enhance those partners. We need to nail them and then tackle them very well so we can get them involved. Sometimes what gets them involved is what you have to offer. So we need to create an atmosphere that can attract them to come and invest. That's the only way we can really get some of these things achieved. In the next 4 years, we want to look back and say, okay, this is what Eno has achieved, especially when you know that Sunday Dare, the immediate past minister, also did so well in terms of private-public partnership. So I wish that he can even do more.
Talking about Sunday, the sports minister, speaking to stakeholders and, of course, giving out his thoughts on what he expects sports to do for the country. One of the cardinal objectives of this administration is that he will give attention to all sports. Is this possible? Again, I'd like to ask you, Epo, because in the past we've seen some sports ministers, try to, lay emphasis on areas where we have comparative advantage. In other climes, this is what looks like a feasible direction for sports development. Focus on the areas where you have your strength and benefit, and of course, from it, and rather than spread your resources, and attention to all sports, and don't get out enough in terms of returns from such an effort.
Literally, it is possible. It's possible because he's an administrator, and so his own is to get his machineries on check via post-cover, and then ensure that A and B and D works together to see that the system is moving. That is on that one. But realistically, you look at what drives achievement or what drives all-round sports in Nigeria. Finance is a key factor. If you want to achieve that, how much do they appropriate every year for the sports ministry? We have close at about 30 federations, sporting federations in Nigeria under his ministry. How possible can all these federations be sponsored? And that's more reason why he's talking about private partnership with the sports ministry, so that they can really drive sport. Because the truth is, on paper, it looks like it won't be easy, because you have a lot of, you have the judo federation, you have football, you have basketball, you have a lot of that, so I think it's going to be very difficult, but I think he's very optimistic. When he says he's going to help all the sports, implies that those who are working, who are really willing, they can create an avenue for them to go higher. And you look at activities that are ongoing. So not all of them have equal activities on a yearly basis. we know for sure that football, basketball have, a high percentage of the budget. But I think giving them the maximum support from the grassroots, building manpower, resource, and all that can really elevate the sport. We may not get there in the next 4 years, but it starts somewhere, and that's what he's saying. I will give encouragement to all the sporting federation to see that they drive sports, and for me, it's laudable because talent abound in all the sports, and we cannot jettison one for the other.
Sports is an area where it's very, very massive, and with enormous talents abound, we hope we'll be able to harness them. New sports minister here in Nigeria, looking at harnessing all at the same time. We wish him the very best of luck, and just do hope that his objective will be realized for the country in terms of taking out labor recruitment and, of course, bringing the country as well to limelight when it comes to sports. Let's still look at some developments coming around for Nigeria in terms of sports. It's a boom. I remember her very well. Yesterday became the very first Nigerian field athlete to qualify for the final of the Diamond League, which took place in China. Sebume looks like a bit of a disappointment at the just concluded World Athletics Championship in Budapest, Hungary, but she's bounced back almost immediately at the Diamond League in China.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, she needed to qualify, unlike her compatriot, Toby Amushon, who have already qualified. I mean, she needed to achieve that because by virtue of winning the World Athletics Championship, the winner of that one already qualified automatically. And so I think that she needed to go to China, pick one of the tickets, and she did that in fine form. She came third in that particular one, although she would have ended up maybe second, but she had stiff opposition from Ivan Vuleta of Serbia, not forgetting that lady from Burkina Faso too. So I think all this make up for what we have, and for her, I'm happy that regardless of her jumping of 6.17 meters, that elevated her to the third place, and I just hope that she can continue because somehow you need to be very consistent in your jumping from number one to the last jump, so that you cannot you are hopeful or something, unlike what we saw when she thought she has achieved it all, by leaping that high. Unfortunately, she lost start in the podium finish, and so I think that she has learned her lessons. And at this point is to pick the ticket. She will now go and participate in Oregon, where she hopes that she can make a podium. If she does that, certainly she can be part of next year's Paris 2020 Olympics.
There is 2 Nigerian athletes at the final of the Diamond League event, and this looks very challenging. The first time we are having 2 Nigerians at the final event. Toby Amusa as well is in the final.
Toby Amusa is in the final, courtesy of what she's been able to do. I mean, if she has a wild card entrance straight up, to the finals for this one because of being a world record holder, and also the fact that she also won last year. So I think that she will now have to compete now to see that she picks a ticket for the Paris Games. It's not going to said at Eugene, Oregon, where she did the feat last year in the World Athletics. She have to create another history for her to be sure that she will be part of the games in Paris next year. So we'll keep our finger crossed, and I think this needs to be one of the biggest because all eyes will be.
Moso as Nigeria's top athletes at the World Diamond League event taking place in. Moso as Nigeria's top athletes at the World Diamond League event taking place in China. We just hope that they will be going for the Diamond League trophy, which is of course prestigious for any athlete, and the $30,000 which is at stake. But again, what can I say? If you do break a record or set a league record, their money could increase from $30,000 as well. But for me, the biggest prize at stake at this Diamond League event is an opportunity to be given a wild card to attend the next World Athletics Championship.
Yeah, that means you don't need to stress yourself, qualify, play or do all those things. You just have to prepare for the game, which is very important, and that's the beauty. So the winner gets automatic qualification. So a lot is at stake, and I think that Toby Amusa should not miss out from this one. Not even a Sebrume. For Sebrume, a lot stands for her. If she gets to win, she will be creating a lot of history for herself. So for Nigerians, all we hope that they will be concentrated, like they will not be distracted, and they will look at
in China. Let's look at latest development coming from the world of cricket. And the president of the Cricket Federation, Oyu Apata, is already looking forward to discovering more cricket players in Akwa Ibom State after commissioning a new cricket practice net at the playground of the community secondary school in Uyo. It looks like we have depth of facilities for cricket across the country.
We have, and at this time, we talked about the sports minister earlier. You know, this is one of the ways, I mean, the best ways for sport, because if you look at the budget of the sports ministry, you cannot fund your activity except you don't want to work. And every federation that want to work, this is the way to go. I was seeing Uya Pata, the federation president, for some time now, digging deep, you know, trying to partner with state government, corporate sponsorship, as well as private sectors, to see how far they can drive the sport called cricket in Nigeria. You know, it used to be a very traditional sport, one of the oldest, but somehow we are beginning to get it right again. So when you look at the last 3 years, what they have done, it's laudable, and partnering with Uyo, with Akwa Ibom government to see that this is done. For me, it's a beauty one. It's a lovely one, because if you look at the talents in that side, if you look at what we have, I think that we can even begin to nurture talent. Where you don't have talent, you can groom such talent in those areas. So I think that what we're doing at the national scene now, I mean, take something for granted, because 5 of those athletes in the female national team, you know, comes from Uyo, from Akwa Ibom. So, I mean, there's need to partner with them, because some of those talents are from there, and we can even get more.
Talking about talents in cricket to be discovered from Cross River State, we had this event that featured nearly 250 kids. And for me, it's beauty to catch them young at that level in Akwa Ibom State. You think that's the reason why we should be seeing more cricketers coming from Akwa Ibom State?
We will. Somehow, I mean, it all depends on the points of every administration. For Uyo, they've opened up to sports. I mean, sports is one of the lucrative areas of the government, and they strive so well. So the moment you want to partner with them, they open that door. Same we have seen in Delta State, those states. So all those sport-loving states, it's easier to really partner with them. And I wouldn't be surprised that in the next 2-3 years, we're going to churn out more talents from that side, because they have the overall.
Is doing putting out an event that we've seen over 250 kids, you know, identify with cricket, and I can assure you that in the next couple of years, from those 250 kids, there definitely will be more cricketers at the national level for Nigeria. Let's see what's happening in the world of rugby, and Nigeria will now begin our quest to participate at the 2024 Olympic Games rugby event scheduled for Paris as early as September 16th. We'll see the Nigerian rugby team called the Black Stallions face Kenya, Zambia, and Namibia in the African qualifiers coming up in Zimbabwe.
Yeah, if you want to make it to the Olympics, you must beat the best of the best in Africa, and then hope that you can do so well. So this is the qualification stage. Nigeria, you know, over time in rugby, the Black Stallions, as the male team is called. We hope that, I mean, we lost recently to Algeria. Not a very good one if you ask me, but then we need to regain back the consciousness. We're going to have Kenya. We'll play against Kenya, likes of Zambia, and not forgetting Namibia in the African qualifiers. If we must get something right, if we do that, then we'll have one more round of qualifiers, hoping that we can go. For me, I think that we have what is said. South Africa is a rugby playing nation, and they don't have challenges because they have a way of getting past. In fact, they've qualified at this point. So let's keep our finger crossed and see if the Black Stallions can really show some strength against the likes of Kenya and their other African counterparts.
The way they lost to Algeria looks scandalous to me, 24-5.
Truly very bad, very bad. I think a lot of person questioned, you know, that loss, and that. But the players have come out to say that they will be motivated, you know, in the qualifiers. This qualifier is what really matters. I think that is just a way of telling us that we have not done so much, you know, in terms of preparation for the qualifiers. I won't be surprised if we don't get to qualify, because we have a good team, no doubt, but we have a better team in their opponents. But like I said, I hope that they can redeem themselves by maybe beating. If they win 2 out of 3, then there is hope.
From rugby, we now look at the latest happening in basketball. And talking about basketball, River Supers, the River State basketball team have been in fine form because they defeated the Sprinters Knights 74-56 in the very final of the Louis Edem Invitational Basketball Championship. They are now champions of this Louis Edem Championship. We saw them, let's say, being beaten by Hoopers 3 times. Now talking about the Knicks, and it looks like a confirmation of their superiority over the Louis Knicks team.
No, in terms of playing against Sprinters Knights, it's a done deal. You know, in the last 3 meetings, they've won it. But don't forget that this is the first trophy they're winning in over 3 years. That shows you how this side has really, you know, fallen down the pecking orders in Nigeria, and they're not surprised why they cannot even qualify, you know, to play. But good thing, the MBBF is back now. A lot of activities happening. I hope that the league will be back too. We've seen the female league already. So with this preparation, these tournaments now, they cannot prepare for the main challenge in the league. And if they get to do well, I think that the lost glory of Rivers Super Sukono to be reignited, because they are one of the best sides in Nigeria. I take nothing for granted. We saw Kwara Falcons this some time ago. It wasn't enough, So I feel that we need to get the right players with this win now. Ogo Daudu and his boys should be able to say, okay, this is what we've been able to achieve. But our level now should be about the Continental Championship and the club games. So, but for me, I think that congratulate them for winning this one. This will really support them, for future endeavors.
Talking about future endeavors for basketball in Nigeria, the Nigerian senior women's basketball team, the D Tigers, have qualified for the 2024 FIBA Olympic qualifying tournament after they finished in a very fine fashion as African champions and one of the top 2 teams from the African side to look at the just concluded 2023 Afro Basketball Championship. Echo, basketball has had a really topsy-turvy time here in Nigeria in the last few months, and can we now get started on fresh footing and see how we can dominate basketball? The D Tigers, both the male and the female national team, have been in fearsome form in the past, but it looks like all of that has been eroded by maladministration. Can we focus and make an impact with the forthcoming Olympic Games coming up in Paris 2024?
Straight on point. I think so. You talk about top six of it. Truly, we've had it very bad in the last couple of years. Especially after winning the last edition of the male and the female, Afro basket. But like you said, I'm happy that we're beginning to get things right. And the only way you can get things right is via administration. Good administration is the channel or the instrument that drives success in every federation. And I think that basking in the euphoria of what the D Tigers were able to do at the Afro basket, the female Afro basket, courtesy of the tactical brilliance of Rena Mwakama, that has really motivated the MBBF. Today now, we can now boldly know what is happening. Before now, it used to be a hidden thing. Before you know, it's a few weeks to the time when we need to start preparation for the qualifiers. But now, we now know that after winning now, the next line of action for the D Tigers will now be to prepare, because courtesy of winning, they have already qualified to be part of the qualification series where you're going to play against the best of the best in the world. So we have from Africa, Nigeria, and Senegal. So I think that the ladies can do that. Don't forget that in the last Olympics, we are the only country, in Africa, or maybe in some of the continents that featured the male and the female team. So I keep my finger crossed and hope that maybe glory days coming back to the Nigerian Basketball Federation. But then let's keep our finger crossed and see how far the ladies can battle some of these nations. 14 nations that they will battle against. I hope that they will be one of the ticket holders at the end of the competition.
In total, 16 teams will participate in the global event, and we just hope that this Olympic qualifying tournaments coming up in February 2024 will be one where the Nigerian teams, both the Tigers and D Tigers, will show themselves. But of these, we know that 12 teams, including the host France and the United States of America, one of the best in basketball, will secure a spot in the Women Olympic Basketball Tournament, as teams will qualify directly from the FIBA Women's Olympic qualifying tournaments from each of the FIBA Women's Continental Cup. We are told that 2 highest placed teams in the FIBA Women's Afro Basketball for 2023 and 4 highest placed teams in the FIBA Women's Asian Cup 2023 will see 6 highest placed teams in the FIBA Women's Euro Basketball Championship for 2023. And this means completely that the D Tigers of Nigeria will be part of the Olympic qualifying tournament, and this is cheering. And we hope Rene Wakama and our girls will do the country proud at the event properly. Just before we wrap up this segment of the program, we bring you the latest coming from the motorsport, that is Formula One. And it's, in fact, if you are from Red Bull team, you should be in a joyous mood, because Max Verstappen has broken Formula One's record with his 10th consecutive win as he overcame Ferrari's valiant challenge at the Italian Grand Prix at the weekend. Echo, in fact, my 11-year-old boy was like, oh, it has always been Lewis Hamilton, but now it's Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen. This is the 10th time of saying Max Verstappen has won on the grid.
Yeah, but one thing about things like this is you'll be surprised that, with all his win, it's just not that he's breaking a particular record set by a certain Sebastian Vettel, a few years ago. Same with the Red Bull side. So they have this tradition of, having winning streak. But I think it's glorious to really see Max Verstappen, continue to dominate the sports. For me, I enjoy it. I enjoy it because if you are exceptional, it's kind of very difficult. So at every point in time, now you just know that somehow his brilliance will really fetch him. It doesn't matter where he is coming from. It doesn't matter the pole position he ends in the qualifiers. Like yesterday, before the race yesterday, we saw how he ended. In the qualifiers, he ended second. We saw a certain Carlos Sainz came first in the qualification series, but it doesn't matter because this man knows the tactics, his brilliance, and his push. He's never give up attitude is such that differentiates him from other drivers so far in the last 2 years. And I think that he's going for a win. More 2 wins for him. He wraps up the season as the winner of this year's championship. So we keep our finger crossed. For me, it's about Max Verstappen and Max Verstappen alone because it looks like no driver can come close to what he's achieved so far this season.
Max Verstappen in a 10th consecutive win in Formula One, and of course they're taking out record set by Sebastian Vettel there. But interestingly, it was for the same constructor, Red Bull, and so Red Bull must be in Cloud 9 at this hour because we've seen Max Verstappen, do what exactly the other driver, Sebastian Vettel, did for them many years ago. It looks like a season of Max Verstappen, and from the way he's going, he definitely will be an unstoppable champion for the year 2023 in Formula One. Time for us to take our first break, and when we return, we definitely will go to look at the latest happening from the world of football. If you're an Arsenal fan, you must be in Cloud 9 this hour because of what happened last night in the Premiership. Details when we return for the break.
Go.
Welcome back. It's Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network, and we're still keeping you informed about the latest happening around the world of sports. Time for us to look at the biggest tennis event ongoing at the United States of America. Flushing Meadows, to be specific, Novak Djokovic enjoyed a very smooth passage into the U.S. Open quarterfinals as he won in straight sets to end Croatia's qualifier Bonagroc's surprise entrant. Eko, it looks like this is a U.S. Open of do I say mixed fortunes? in the male category, we've seen the world number 2, Novak Djokovic, now move into the quarterfinals. But just before we will get to see the other side of these performances ongoing in the US Open, where in the female category, world number 1 have exited the competition. But first, let's look at the male category now. Novak Djokovic, everybody expects him to be in the final.
Yeah, everybody expects, especially at the time when we know for sure that by virtue of being his second seed in this tournament, he will not be placed, he will not have any dealing with world number 1 until the final. So he's basking in the euphoria. And this target this year is also win the Grand Slams. And so if the only man who can stop him will meet him in the finals, then there is a chance of him winning that one. So he's already just doing all he needs. But he faced stiff opposition from the qualifier. But, it wasn't an easy run on paper. And it's a nice session later the actor, she stayed on. So I just keep a finger crossed because what we saw was a training moment, but his experience really counted. And yesterday, no surprises why we saw that train. When you get to win 6-2, 2-6, 7-5, 6-4. It wasn't an easy one at all for him. On paper, it would have been easy to say, okay, he'll win. But then we saw something different.
Talking about seeing something different, he was coming up against the Croatian qualifier. You think the qualifier gave him more, more on his plate than they could easily have taken?
No, truly. Gojo, if you watch his from the qualification round, getting to this the fourth round, it wasn't an easy one because he has taken out some known names, some seeded players, to getting to meet him. So nobody would have expected him. I think that he's been a fairy tale run for the Croatian, Bona Gojo. But then when you meet somebody who is just so experienced, who has more ambition, like you do too, it's kind of very difficult. And when we saw this pairing, we knew that it would take a whole lot for him to get past Novak Djokovic. Although he tried that in the second and third set, but that wasn't enough because Novak Djokovic has it all going for him. And we would have expected it would have been disastrous to see Novak Djokovic out, at this point.
Novak Djokovic had a scare, but he was able to bounce back with plenty of experience over a qualifier from Croatia at the US Open. So he is now in the quarterfinals and then looking forward to pushing towards the very final out there in New York. Let's see what's happening in the female category first before we look at the exit of the world number 1. Iga Swiatek. It looks like a fairy tale run for Karolina Wojcicki. She was doing so well up till she met the relatively younger Coco Gauff from the United States of America. With a gutsy victory, we've seen the 19-year-old American overcome the breakdown in the third set to win 6-3, 3-6, 6-1.
For Coco Gauff is basking on the euphoria of winning the Western Conference, championship, and then it's Cincinnati Open. That makes her, look like she's heading for something great because she believes that she will, if she can beat the world number 1 going to this one, it would have been very difficult, not to win Wozniacki. She grew up watching Wozniacki as a player, and so getting to play her initially gave her some scare. And that's why if you look at the first set in that game, she came back to win that particular one. But then that showed that she's gradually growing, and with some of the experience, she's gathered. I don't think that she will want to take it lightly with anyone. But Wozniacki, she has done her part, coming in as a wild card entrant, and then staying away from the sports for some time since 2020, coming back.
3.5 years.
So it's not going to be that easy, But she has been done very well because, unlike Venus Williams, nobody gave her a chance to get to this level because tennis has truly evolved over the years, and what they saw during that time is no longer what we're seeing now. A lot of upset in the WTA. So for her getting to this level shows that she can even do more. I think it will be a success, for her because coming to play tennis after a very long spell. For me, it's not a bad one. Losing to a seeded player too, like Coco Gauff, who is very energetic. Can run you down, and get something out of you. I think that she has done her best. I just hope that with what we've seen from Coco Gauff, it looks like she's one of the contenders now to win this particular one.
Contenders to win this year's US Open could no longer be Iga Swiatek. A lot of people thought she would come back to win again at New York, but she's now crashed out just before the quarterfinals. And watch it. Jelena Ostapenko, that's the person that took out the world number 1. 20-seeded Jelena Ostapenko taking out Iga Swiatek, favorite at New York.
I am not surprised. The draws, Jelena Ostapenko has been in the mix for a very long time. We saw what they did a few years ago. And so when you hear the Jelena Ostapenkos of this world, you don't get it twisted, because she has something to offer. Although in recent times she has not been in the best of her forms, like getting to
She
majors.
put up as many as 31 winners in this match to take out Iga Swiatek, world number one.
Iga Swiatek, I think that she's the defending champion of this particular one. A lot of people would have expected to see her, maybe get to the semi-finals of this one, or maybe to the finals, and then it can be decided. If she has lost in the finals, a lot of people would think that, nothing. And if you look at the loss, it has a lot of implication for her, because the point margin between she and Aryna Sabalenka is very slim. It's not even up to 1,000 points. So we hope that she can. She should have done more, but unfortunately losing to Jelena Ostapenko. And that's the beauty of Grand Slam, because you can never say never until it is done. And I just keep my finger crossed. Now, at this point now, it's difficult to really say this will get to the finals until we get to see those who will be in the semi-finals. But Aryna Sabalenka, if she's in the midst now, she'll be laughing and smiling, hoping that she can get to the final. If she gets to the final, she gets to, she might be toppling Iga Swiatek. Iga Swiatek has really been on this, on world number one ranking for a very long time. Maybe it's time to have a change of guard now, but it all depends on what the rest of the players will have to do. Jessica Pegula, Coco Gauff, they're in the mix. And so, we'll keep our finger open and see how far or what next to come. Starting on Jabua is still in the mix. And so, a lot of players who you can count that they can do the needful. But like I said, offset is the name of Grand Slam, and I'm not surprised when it comes.
Talking about surprise, I'm not surprised that Iga Swiatek's reign as world number one for 75 weeks has now come to an end. And you want to ask, why am I not so surprised? I'm not surprised because this is the third time any match between she and Jelena Ostapenko has always ended in favor of Jelena Ostapenko. And so I'm not really surprised that Ostapenko has had to stop her again. 26-year-old Ostapenko taking her world number one. And of course, stopping her 75-week reign as world number one in tennis. And so right now, it will be Coco Gauff versus Ostapenko.
And that seems to be a very tricky one there. But take a look at Ostapenko's run. Anytime she's been able to do something, pull out a stunt like this, she has a way of getting to the later stages. And this is the quarterfinal they are going to play now.
She's a former French Open champion.
Champions, right? Yeah.
Right.
So
Grand Slam she has won.
Exactly, and we saw how she got to that level. By passing all the obstacles and the names, getting to winning that particular one. And think that it won't be easy because she'll be basking on the full. She can pull out towards number one, nothing stopping her because she has a little experience and she has done it before. And that's one good thing, because when you get to the pinnacle of success, you have a way of always, replicating that feat. And maybe this is our time again. But like I said, if Maketa Vondrousova did it last time in Wimbledon, I won't be surprised, because it could be another time for a new phase altogether, or a name that has been there coming back to reclaim the feat. But like I said, it won't be easy for her because we still have a lot of big stars and big names. Yeah, Coco Gauff is not the Coco Gauff we used to know now. This Coco Gauff is the Coco Gauff who enjoys winning and enjoys winning titles. And I just hope that this one, Grand Slam has eluded her for a very long time now. She wants to fight strong against Jelena Ostapenko.
Well, we hope that the 26-year-old and up against 19-year-old will produce some exciting tennis for those that will be at the stands at Flushing Meadows in New York for this year's quarterfinal between Ostapenko and just a relatively exciting player, Coco Gauff from the United States of America. Let's go to football now, and of course we start from the local scene where Sports Writers Association of Nigeria was in upbeat mood because on the 1st of this month they came together for the very first conference of its members, and it was some kind of joy. Epo, you must have been in that activity.
Yeah, it was lovely to really see that, sometimes sports writers are engulfed into covering stories, moving from here to there, to see that the listeners, the audience, the viewers are well entertained, via sports reportage. But sometimes they too need to be trained so that they can be efficient in carrying out or dispatching their duties. And not just being trained, sometimes too, they also need to have time for proper health, medication, and lifestyle.
And that's really what they talked about. And for sports journalists there, you always think that, oh yeah, they report what happens on the pitch there, but they don't find time for themselves. And I think the consultant invited Dr. Agi, my very good friend, was apt about what he expects sports journalists to, what their lifestyle should be for optimal performance. Could you highlight us on some of the things mentioned by Dr. Agi as should be part of lifestyle of a sports journalist for optimal performance?
Yeah, Dr. Age truly really discharged a lot of knowledge to those of us who are participants in that conference. And he talked about healthy lifestyle, the food you eat, the food you take in, and time for rest. He referenced the story of a U.S. international that died while reporting the last World Cup in Qatar, and some of the incidents that have happened. So sometimes we sports journalists, because of lack of medical examination and medical evaluation, sometimes we are at the risk of even overstressing ourselves, forgetting that we need some time for ourselves. So he is advocating that we need proper time. We need to be intentional about our health and our lifestyle, as well as ensuring that what we take into our body matters so much. And he advocated that sports journalists should be able to read wide, read things that will help improve their health and their mental ability, because you need to be stable, mentally stable, for you to function optimally and effectively. And I think I agree with him totally.
Well, Dr. Agi, they're making a very strong point, saying that you need to find time for rest, you need to exercise, and of course, need to eat well to discharge your function as a sports journalist. And I can assure you that I will be one of those who will take to the advice of the radiologist and cardiologist, Dr. Agi. Let's quickly now go to see the latest around the league here in Nigeria. We expect that this weekend there will be kickoff of the Nigerian Professional Football League. But before then, there has been a massive movement of players. Quickly, Ibo, so that we can go to what's happening across Europe.
Yeah, ahead of the start of the new season, I mean, some clubs, we've seen some clubs already moving. Rangers signed the new player, Chinedu from Nasarawa United. Nasarawa United were relegated last season to the NNL, so more like a lot of the players leaving the side to have a professional game. And so we'll keep our finger crossed. It's going to be fireworks this weekend, because the Nigeria Premier Football League will commence, and that commencement will also shoulder a whole lot. Eyimba Football Club, while thinking of the league, thinking of the Super League in the continent. So for me, I'm just keeping my finger crossed to see Rivers United massively preparing too. A lot of clubs are also participating in other preseason games, tournaments to prove up their strengths. And Aqua United, not far away, they also play there over the weekend. So a whole lot to be expected. This time around, we're not going to see an abridged league. We're going to see a full-fledged league where 38 games will be played in course of the season.
Talking about football development across the continent of Africa, it's now been known that Eyimba International of Abao will take on Wydad Casablanca in the African Super League game. This is a lot of money at stake here, and Eyimba, from their latest performances, doesn't seem to be strong enough, in my opinion, to contend with Wydad Casablanca in the inaugural edition of the African Super League.
2.5 million is at stake, for the winner of this particular $1. Yeah, and
they are straight into the quarterfinal.
Straight into the quarterfinal, and that's the beauty of it. But I think that, like you said, I do not trust Eyimba Football Club, especially if you look at the recent form, to see to do something against Wydad. Wydad, they are reigning champions, in the continent of Africa, and to take a whole lot if you need to get that away from them. And I mean, in the last 2 years, they have been at they are designated the top of their game, and Eyimba are gradually being exited from the Champions League. I don't think, but I mean, it's football, you never can tell. Money can also be a motivation to play in the continent.
Talking about money, it reminds me of the Super Eagles coach, Posero, who we understand has had to accept pay cut to tinker with the Super Eagles. And straight away, he has invited some players for the match expected to take place in Uyo on the 10th of September between Nigeria and Sao Tome and Principe. Epo, a lot come to pass between the handlers of the Super Eagles, that's the Nigerian Football Federation, and the foreign coach attached to the team, Coach Pesero. We understand now that he has had to accept a pay cut to tinker with the team after the intervention of the new sports minister.
Yeah, he has to. I for one, also think that I love the intervention of the sports minister. We cannot take a team to qualifiers and then without a coach. It doesn't make sense. Even if anything, it doesn't build to our professional, the character we are building at the international scene. So the best is to having. The onus has always been reduce your pay cut so you can be part of the system. They were paying him $70,000 and that's big money. The federation have said they don't have money, but I think that it's good that they've resolved it now. He has from now to next year, to see that he gets to the semi-finals at least, of the AFCON. Otherwise, he will be sacked. So it's just a one-year contract, and I think that Joseph Pesero should count himself very lucky, because Nigeria, take nothing for granted, is one of the big names when it comes to global football. and being the coach of Nigeria brings a lot of things and a lot of popularity for him as a coach. So let's keep our finger crossed and see that we get this dead rubber game done and dusted against the Sao Tome and Principe in New York this weekend.
Well, let's quickly look at what happened last weekend in football across Europe. We'll start with the Premiership in England, where we saw a total of 41 goals scored, and we saw 5 home wins, averaging 5 match day winners. Let's first look at the one everybody talked about who happened last night and the biggest game of the weekend in the Premiership in England, Arsenal versus Manchester United. At the end of 90 minutes plus added time, it was 3-1, all in favour of Arsenal. 2 quick goals coming in the last, let's say, the last few minutes of that encounter. What will you say? A lot of people believe that they can rise winner. Let's say, second goal was very key, and that's why he was paid the £105 million to join the team.
Declan Rice was bought for games like this, Mr. Siri. And I think that Arsenal, for the first time, did something lovely. I mean, when you have scored, and that's the difference between them and Manchester City over the years. I'm not saying that they have the score that Manchester City do have, but they are now having scored that, you know, they can give them maximum win. Don't forget that they have everything to fight for. This is something that topped the season for a very lengthy time. You know, stayed out as #1 until they were usurped by Manchester City. So, ordinarily, one should think that they will continue to fight. They are trailing Manchester City now with few points, and they wouldn't want to. They've not lost any game. They're still 12th. They have 12 points so far. So, I think that the best is to show, make pronouncement like this. And when you beat your key rival, because Manchester United is one of the top rivals to get their hands on the trophy, and when you hit them on like this now, you know that creates that fear of that fear factor around your team, and winning at home before the fans. I mean, what a joy it can be, and we saw that, you know, at the Emirates yesterday.
Yes, Gabriel Jesus just came back from injury and scored the third goal in that thriller as well.
And it just showed that he has a way of getting past Manchester United. You know, I'm very happy to get his hand. This is what matters when you have a good attacking templates. You know, any player can get a goal. It could have been Saka, it could have been, we saw what Odegaard did, you know, restoring back parity. But then the Arsenal we saw yesterday was a different Arsenal, and I think that if they continue like this, it will be very tough for, you know, the opponents to really get, especially at home. But I mean, it's just one of those games. A whole lot transpired. I mean, there's issue of whether the offline, the offside, you know, call at some point happened, and so we saw penalty. You know, so the VAR was in check yesterday, but put all together, I think it was a perfect day for us now. And no thanks to what we saw from the tactics or deployed by that man, Eric Ten Hag.
Talking about a perfect day at the weekend, Manchester City and Liverpool too had perfect weekend to remember.
Yeah, they had. I mean, for Liverpool, they were able to thrash Aston Villa. I was really surprised. I mean, that was a flattering scoreline because Aston Villa, I know, Unai Emery getting to lose to Liverpool 3-0. I mean, surprising for me, even if it's that was played at Anfield. But for Ellen Brut Haaland scoring a hat-trick in that game, it looks like whenever there is no Pep Guardiola, they play even more because they want to exercise their chance. And for some of the players, they will be very happy.
5 goals to 1?
5 goals to 1, yeah, to 2. They won yesterday against their counterpart. I just keep my finger crossed to see how far it can go, but they look like a side that will not stop anytime soon.
Let's quickly see what's happening at the other league, because but just before we wrap up there, we saw as many as 3 hat-tricks in the Premiership in England at the weekend.
It's one of those games. I mean, as last week we saw a lot of home games losses, you know, but this time we saw close to about 4-5 home wins. So it shows that sometimes more score lines, and when you have more score lines, there's tendency of getting a hat-trick. I mean, in recent time we have not really seen this, but this is match day 4, and you are beginning to see that some of the players are beginning to master themselves. And I mean, as the team gels together too, it also breeds understanding and more goals. And so we should be expecting more goals. This is 41 this weekend. Who knows what happens next after the international break? So in the English Premier League, anything can happen any weekend.
Talking about hat-tricks, I remember Erling Haaland scoring a hat-trick. Yun Ming of Tehran Hotspur scoring a hat-trick as well. Let's quickly see what has happened in the other league. Definitely will give you a full lowdown of it. But looking at the German Bundesliga, first let's look at the La Liga in Spain. We saw FC Barcelona in a 2-1 win over their counterpart Osasuna. last night.
That was a very tricky one, but I think the experience of Lewandowski counts, and that win ensured that they're going to chase Real Madrid, who looks like the leader of the La Liga Santander now.
Well, and across in Spain, Kylian Mbappe is back to scoring ways for PSG.
After troubled times of his transfer, whether he's going to leave or not, somehow they need him, and you cannot have a player like Kylian Mbappe and then you continue to bench him. So bringing him on yesterday showed why he's one of the best in the world when it comes to playing, and then he did the needful, getting a brace in that one to ensure that they continue to push forward and maybe to win the league again this time around.
In Italy, we saw Inter Milan in a very high-scoring form, and we saw Leo Martinez score 2 of the goals.
For Inter Milan, they look like a side that will continue to struggle. Battle hard. We saw how they battled against Napoli, but Napoli was in a different class of their own, and that ensured that no matter how far they struggled last season, they were able to get their hands on the Scudetto. But I keep my finger crossed and see how far it all goes down this time around. But Inter Milan looks like they are well beefed with squad. They have a very good squad. Don't forget, this same team that got to the finals of the UEFA Champions League, to show you how good they are. And I think that Inzaghi has really done a lot of work with their side.
And we have to just wrap up the show quite a lot, but don't forget we have Sports Extraordinary 6 to 7 p.m. and where we'll take a look at all the top leagues in Europe, especially what has happened in the United States of America, where Lionel Messi has helped this club side, Inter Miami, to overcome the team that is mostly fielded in the United States of America when it talks about top performance. 3-1 ended in that fixture between Inter Miami and the Colors.
One thing that Lionel Messi has done is not just a player that just want to play and elevate the side. He's a player that the last time he has won, he has helped his club, Inter Miami. They've won a cup, already, and he has also the next push now is to see them get to the pinnacle of the league, and this is the same Inter Miami that has been struggling, in the last 2 years. So I think that the coming in of Messi is really paying off, because when you cover that amount of money to pay a player like that in dollars, it tells you that enough is needed, and he's not sleeping, he's not just relaxing like a leader, he's showcasing the leadership skill and also helping his side to get maximum points. That is why he is Lionel Messi, El Messiah, a player revered and a player who is most loved. So I think that what he's doing is what a lot of us expect from him, even as he's no longer a child like we used to know Messi before, but he's playing like with passion, and that for me is very interesting.
Interesting development coming from the United States of America, where Lionel Messi has taken Inter Miami to very lovable heights in football. He's won the trophies already, and now he's helping them push up on the league table from the bottom lad. Now they've taken up the top team, the LAFC, in a 3-1 win only yesterday. That will be it for this edition of Sports Talk. Definitely we'll be back at 6 p.m. like I mentioned, when we'll take an in-depth look at all results coming in from the top leagues around the world. But until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.
Representing people. Mr. President, my people